FAPS Incognito.
Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we are back in the basement for another Incognito session. It's going to be a good one today.
Yes, the second FAPS Incognito.
And
the second Tarkovksy film we've covered.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm sure you guys are excited. We're excited.
Yep. We sound very excited.
We had a blast yesterday watching Nostalghia
Yep.
at
Holy
a
shit, yeah.
cinema.
And I think we said last time that we noticed a lot of walkouts. This is something we didn't get to talk about when we left. But no walkouts.
Not a single person
No.
walked out. Well, in fact, two walked out, but they both came back.
Isn't that inspirational, guys?
Poetic.
I mean,
Well, I think what it is, and I was saying this, is that this is the fourth Tarkovsky film that they've screened at this particular cinema. Well, actually, we should just say
New Farm.
New Farm, because
Yeah,
they follow
friends
us.
of us.
Yeah, thanks,
we
New Farm.
We love a bit of New Farm. They show the most
We do.
old films, the most
Yeah.
retrospectives.
if only they just renovated and became nice and beautiful and big.
Well, I love the aesthetic, the old aesthetic too. Or
But Cinema One,
just forget spending money on renovation. Why don't they just sponsor us?
exactly.
Oh, that's such a great idea.
Look, sponsor us or get a bigger screen in the goddamn purple room, bro.
Well, Cinema One is horrifically designed in almost every aspect.
Yeah.
I love
But-
New Farm
Look,
cinemas.
I think we should-
I'm less
yeah.
grumpy than these
Let's stop
two.
hating on New Farm. We love New Farm.
They give
New
us
Farm's
the
best.
opportunity to watch Tarkovsky films on the big screen, so we love you, New
Absolutely right.
Farm.
And as I was saying, yeah, this is the fourth one. And we were going to do the other two, but we didn't actually have the idea for FAPS Incognito until we watched Mirror.
Because if you haven't noticed by now, we're a bit slow.
That's right. We just don't upload anymore.
I
And-
didn't mean it like that.
Well, the trouble is we're very busy men.
Yeah.
We're men on the trot.
Yep. Lots of important
Lots of-
things.
And anyway, Nick,
Don't
so
have time to fap out much.
there's been a trend developing. People have started to realize that.
That's right. So when we watched Stalker, right, which was like, wow, a Tarkovsky movie was playing, so many cunts just walked out. And like they were snoring.
yeah, the
and
theater
people
was
were-
full as well.
Yeah, because everyone was like, holy shit, this guy Tarkovsky, he's like supposed to be a real G. And it's like, this is going to be good. And then they weren't ready for like his particular style, which is to be fair, a difficult style.
It's a
to get
draining
into.
style, and I'll get
Yeah.
onto that.
It is for sure. Like you have to kind of be ready for it. And then we did Solaris, which was, what the fuck are you looking at?
draining.
Oh my God.
Get it? Because we're
Do you get it
faps.
because of the implication?
Yeah, bro, that's just great.
My fault. Anyway, we'll get back on track.
Thank you so much for
So we
that.
saw Solaris, and a few
Saw
people walked
Solaris,
out.
more walkouts as well.
Yep.
Which was just great.
And then we saw Mirror.
Mirror, which they made the cinema smaller,
Mm-hmm.
which didn't stop the walkouts.
But
there
they were
less
all
people.
toward the end.
That's right. It was
Everyone
bizarre.
left with like
You know
20
what?
minutes left. What cowards?
You know another theme that I've noticed is people telling me to be quiet.
Yeah, dude, someone told you to
facts.
shut up.
I didn't even look at him. This old dude. So in Mirror, I got told to shush by this old lady because I don't know. I was
Why don't
drinking water or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
She turns and goes,
You're just a loud consumer.
I guess, dude. But then this time, the movie had like not even started. It just started.
You were eating M&Ms.
And I put my hand in my bag, and this old ass dude turns to me and goes, shh. And he made more noise than I did.
Bro, and the cinema was dead quiet. And I remember looking over to you, like, and you're
Yeah.
fingering the bag.
Oh, dude.
And it's like, I was sitting there thinking, this is bound to be a disaster.
You were like frozen for like a minute.
Did you just, I know, but did you see how every time I went for more M&Ms,
Yeah, you were,
I
like,
was
really
like slow
cautious.
motion,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
took me like a minute to actually make the decision.
Oh my God.
Nah, but I was like, did Isaac just get shushed? Like,
I couldn't believe
Christ.
it because
Yeah.
he made more. I didn't make that much noise. Did I?
no.
No.
It was just
his-
general like cinema eating.
His shush was
No, it was
the loudest
actually.
thing.
To be fair, the problem is that, and this is what I was going to lead into. So this was Nostalgia was in the big cinema that they did the first two movies in, probably only a quarter full.
Yeah, the entire back middle section was full.
Yeah, that's
That's
not
about it.
not a lot compared to what had started off with Stalker and Solaris. Very, very, very respectful crowds. Perhaps this one was the most respectful
Because we're cinema appreciators.
yeah, but no, I meant like the other people. Of course, us we're sophisticated.
Yeah,
but
I meant everyone, yeah.
the troglodytes were actually like normal people.
You're gonna be, yeah.
And I was very surprised, but again, no one walked out. And I was going to say, I think that's because Brisbane has finally sort of realized what Tarkovsky movie is going to be like. And they were like, nah, we've tried it 3 times. It's not going to work. We're going to skip out.
Yeah.
And so people at Nostalgia were actual fans.
I do love that you said Brisbane as if like the entirety of Brisbane.
All 3 million people have watched a Tarkovsky
How many
film
people
now.
in Brisbane do you think have watched a Tarkovsky movie?
Tens of thousands.
Does that make us just the best person ever? We've all watched Tarkovsky, which means
Yeah,
we
Nick's
are
seen
better than
every feature-length Tarkovsky film.
Yeah.
You would be
Nostalgia's
one of very few in Brisbane.
That's-
Perhaps a couple hundred, I'd imagine.
Yeah, if that.
Does that not get you in the mood for a good fap? Come on.
Surely, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, I think we've done enough ranting about nothing. I think it's time to get into
Let's
the meat.
get into nostalgia.
Yeah, we could spend this whole podcast just talking about the screening experience of Tarkovsky movies. Marlon said a very excellent quote, which I just love, which is the certainties of life are death, taxes, and people leaving Tarkovsky films early.
Yeah.
It's just so true.
It's very true.
But anyway,
But alas, we didn't leave early. We watched the full nostalgia film, and
did.
I loved it.
I'm already nostalgic.
Yeah, bro. So again, as I always like to say with starting discussions, what did we think, gentlemen?
What do you
did we-
mean by what do you think?
How do we think? Definitely ask Bowie that question.
Well,
What is thinking?
the first thing I
What is
want
this
to
thing we call
the first thing I want to say about not just nostalgia, but all of the Tarkovsky films I've seen is one of the main reasons I love them is because they're a battle.
Right.
It isn't easy viewing. It isn't spoon-fed to you.
Yeah.
Although in this one I had some problems with the fact it was spoon-fed at times. In my opinion, you guys
Yeah.
might disagree. But the full journey of watching a Tarkovsky film and going from what the fuck to this is beautiful to what the fuck to this is beautiful on repeat, it is a battle. It is a very thought-heavy process, and I love it. I feel like I'm constantly, struggling to figure out the meaning, but loving the whole process.
Yeah.
And it is like a very, it's a struggle of an event, and it's brilliant because I don't do that much.
But I do love the fact that Tarkovsky literally is just like, bro, fuck these dumbasses who don't think when they're watching the movies. I'm gonna literally force them to.
Yeah.
If they're gonna sit here and watch this, they're gonna have to think.
You don't have a choice.
He for example, we'll get to it, but there's that shot, at the end of the movie of him with a candle and he has to keep going back and forth across the pool because it keeps going out, and it's just one long. Anyway, let's get back into nostalgia.
So Isaac,
So
you were
you're
saying
talking about the candle scene.
and how Tarkovsky
You know what
forces you
would-
to think.
And ironically, what'd be really amazing is I was talking about how that scene is one shot. What if I just didn't edit that and just made the viewer think about why is this included in this episode? Anyway, but yeah, so in general, I think that the themes we've got to think about with this movie are, well, obviously it's semi-biographical, autobiographical, as always with Tarkovsky, I guess. Or for the
Can I
most
say
part.
quickly, when you were mentioning about that, it's kind of a struggle. What's really interesting is I read this thing before us recording this, which said that one of Tarkovsky's big things that he wants out of all of his films is he wants people, and you'd never get it in films, is to actually feel time.
Which is a big point
Yeah.
about this movie.
It's to actually feel time in a scene and actually feel time passing, because you don't ever feel like that's happening, because obviously you cut from a scene to a scene, and even though obviously you can see people age and you can see all this sort of stuff happening, the actual effect, the feeling of time passing doesn't come over you, but it does in basically all of his films.
Yes.
And like watching Nostalgia, obviously I was thinking about Stalker, which was the previous one, same thing, where there's just so many really long moments.
Well, yeah, that's
of-
the effect a lingering camera has.
yeah,
You know.
and you're talking about that candle scene and how it was kind of like, fucking hell, just get to the end of the fucking pool.
And like one thing we might not do enough with Tarkovsky films is appreciate the cinematographers. They have
yeah.
to be the most beautifully shot films I've fucking ever seen.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's a director who has consistently that well shot
No,
films.
and I guarantee the eye is definitely a lot his. He's gone, I've seen this, let's do it.
Yeah,
But to be able to execute that in any way is still equally as impressive and
Yeah.
deserves note.
yeah,
Because this film, like the others I've seen, is fucking gorgeous. There's
Yeah.
not a scene that looks ugly,
and it's such a
even when the settings are broken down.
yeah. It's such a
So
it's such a
wait a minute.
It's such a pleasure though that, and such a treat that we actually are able to see them in cinema.
Yeah,
Marlon,
very lucky.
did you think that a man burning to death was beautiful?
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of was, actually.
Yeah.
That's what's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, they were playing
Beethoven.
while it was happening.
And it was like
almost
spazzing out, which was so awesome.
Yeah.
The music's not working.
Anyway,
Yeah, that was actually
that was
funny.
sick.
There was actually a joke in a Tarkovsky movie.
That is probably the only joke in a Tarkovsky movie.
The one thing that I think is so interesting, of course, is as you said in the introduction of the film, is that obviously he doesn't hold your hand. Sometimes they can be difficult watching experiences. Like my first ever was Stalker, and I had to take.
That was mine as well.
It took me 3 attempts to actually sit through the whole thing. The first 2 times I couldn't actually do it because I was getting bored, and I would wait for 6 months and do it again and couldn't do it. And then on the 3rd time, I actually was able to do it. And I think Stalker and Mirror are the only 2 that I've rewatched. But I get so much out of them every time. I mean, I've seen Stalker now several times. And you can keep watching them, and there's just so much always to unpack. And I feel like Nostalgia would be something similar.
Definitely in the same boat. What's this, second last film?
Yeah.
Sacrifice, Nostalgia? Yep.
I did notice we didn't really explain the movie.
Yeah, we're about to do that now.
Okay.
I was going to start. I always struggle to finish off these explanations.
It is a hard thing to do.
You always struggle to finish.
Too much gooning.
in the basement.
Sorry, I meant fapping. It's
Yeah. Anyway.
my fault. That's the joke.
So essentially, Nostalgia centers around a Russian poet who travels to Italy to document and understand the life of a composer in the, I think it was the 18th or 17th century. 100 years ago.
Bro, just start doing some like goofy jump cut.
This Russian poet, travels to Italy with a translator to document and sort of relive the life in ways of a Russian composer, Sosnovsky, from a couple hundred years ago, who, by the way, doesn't exist.
no.
Right? Damn, Sosnovsky doesn't exist. Anyway, Sosnovsky ends up killing himself, and then you guys keep going.
So
What's the rest of the story? Everything else.
That's what the guy's doing.
That was his goal.
He's staying at this hotel in Italy.
Yeah, some old
where
baths.
There's this hot spring kind of bath thing where it's from Saint Catherine.
Yep.
Some saint.
St. Catherine, that's
And
right.
then we meet this, religious fanatic who at one point had locked his whole family up in his building because he thought the end times were near or some ridiculous shit. But now his mission is to get this candle that he'll light on, then try and get across this St. Catherine's pool or whatever. But he keeps getting stopped by the old people who chill in the pool because they're like, this guy's crazy, he's trying to drown himself.
Yep.
And so he can't get it done. And our poet man, I can't remember his name. Whatever it is.
Anyway, we'll figure that out.
Whatever his name is, he finds this religious dude interesting and he wants
It's
to...
Andre.
There you go. And he wants to talk to him and figure him out. And
You don't realize how many like Andrei Tarkovsky characters are called Andre.
yeah, dude, he's just
So many of
just
them.
everyone's him. And so he then, goes and tries to meet him. Eventually he gets through to him and blah, blah, blah. And then this religious guy gives him the task of the candle bearing thing across the pool. And skipping over some stuff, I guess, the religious guy goes to Rome, starts giving speeches about how they're supposed to live or something, burns himself to death.
Oh, there's also that
and-
chick.
And
He's traveling with.
well, yeah,
she's important.
Well,
She's-
in between that, Andre has these reflections of his female figures in his life.
His wife, yeah.
his life back in Russia.
His
as well.
wife, his mother, his daughter, all 3 women in different stages of life.
Yeah.
And so, and then obviously the girl he's traveling with, where there is some sort of or connection, in a sense, where it's like, I hate being with you, but can't stand the thought of being without you, sort of thing going on.
Yep.
When she's constantly coming back to him, even though every minute spent with her is painful.
Yep.
I love when he's just like, you're crazy. Which
Yeah.
is going like this big rant
Yeah.
about how
No,
he's this horrible human.
He just
Like,
goes, she's insane. He doesn't even
insane.
say it to her. She just says to himself, she's insane.
which is pretty awesome, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's a pretty Sigma moment.
But yeah, so I guess the Jesus, the base.
We're literally in a basement and we mentioned Sigma.
I can't. I need to be neutered, bro.
The base
There's just gonna be
message
bleeps.
when you search up nostalgia, not the base message, but the base journey is like a man goes and recollects his time with, or recounts the time of a Russian composer, whilst intertwining his past life in history, in Russia, sorry.
Yep.
And the complex interactions
Yep.
and relationships throughout.
All right, so I think we've aptly summarized the film. We've basically gone into all the beats. So let's get into the nitty gritty. First of all,
Themes.
themes. That's not a bad place to start. We'll start with themes.
All right, I'm just gonna start throwing stuff out.
All right, throw.
See what we catch on to.
See what sticks.
Alienation, homesickness, something to do with time, something to do with art.
Love it.
The mother's a massive one. So
Mother.
Mother Mary.
Some
Oh,
Freud.
Mother Figures.
Mother figures.
The Madonna.
Yeah, Madonna.
Absolutely, Marlon. I can't believe I totally.
We're getting into some Freudian shit right
So
now,
that's
bro.
the second
Madonna
scene.
whore complex. Okay, kind of.
That's like this.
No, I'm not gonna.
The second scene,
no,
and then
Fuck Freud, bro.
with Mother particularly, which was one of my favorite aspects of the film. So the woman that it keeps coming back to is Maria, and Maria is Andre's real mum's name.
Yep.
And then at the end of the film it goes in honor of my mum. So I'd love to, having known that now, look at it just solely from that lens.
Yeah.
What did we think of him having driven all the way across Italy, or whatever they did, to go see the Madonna in that church,
And then not even go
him
in?
not going?
Because that's at the very start.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very interesting because obviously, I think on the surface level, one of the two biggest things on the surface level are just his whole relationship with his mum, because obviously, as Marlon said, it's dedicated to his mum. But I think obviously this was made right after Tarkovsky left Russia, because there were all these criminal accusations.
And he never went back to Russia.
No, he never went back.
Where'd he die?
Paris.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he lived in Italy for a while, and because that's where he first went after Russia, because he was accused of spreading anti-Soviet propaganda through films like Stalker. And then he was like, fuck you cunts, and dipped out of Russia. And apparently his son was there for, like, couldn't leave. They kept him in the country. They kept him in Russia. And he only managed to see his son when he was dying, when he was finishing the sacrifice. And the sacrifice is dedicated to his son.
Where's the sacrifice filmed?
I think it's like Northern Europe, I believe, like Sweden region.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's right, because I think a lot of Ingmar Bergman's crew actually worked on that.
That's
film,
dope.
including Ingmar Bergman's cinematographer did the sacrifice, which I just think is absolute swag.
That is very dope.
But yeah, so on the surface, obviously you've got this whole
A Swedish island, yeah.
he's longing for Russia, and I think initially you could look at that and go, he's traveled all this way to get to this cathedral to look at this thing, and then right at the end he decides not to go in. And I think perhaps you could take that as this is Tarkovsky. All he wants is to get away from Russia, because he's like, fuck Russia. And he gets all the way out, goes to Italy, he's never coming back. And yet he can't go all the way because he still longs
So
for
what?
home.
Mother is Mother Russia.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because then
but it's-
I guess
he's longing for his
At the end of
home.
the film, he's sitting in the shell of a cathedral, and his home is right behind him in the cathedral, which is what an incredible set. There's a miniature of his house, perfect to a T, unless it's two film reels cut
I
together.
think it's that.
Yeah, with the
it's
massive ghost of a cathedral.
Yeah.
I have no.
Surrounding
That
it.
shot was confused the hell out of me.
It was fucking
'Cause I was
awesome.
like-
Well, if you take that interpretation, that
Whole
means
perspective.
home is
Well,
church.
also, and obviously
Church.
you can delve deeper, because obviously he
Yeah.
was a Catholic, and you could go into Christian stuff, which I actually don't think is as pertinent in this film as some of his others. The idea of Catholicism and religion.
And
I don't-
faith in general.
Yeah, I mean that was a
Just
huge.
faith-
That was a
faith
huge
comes up
part
with
of Stalker.
But faith comes up big with the religious fanatic.
It's like
how-
one of the biggest
So the
center
question
points
is,
of the film.
like, to me, the representation of the fanatic in the movie is that he is crazy, and that he is wrong in how he
Perceives the world.
Not necessarily. Maybe not necessarily just how he perceives the world, but how he behaves in the world. But what's important is that I think Tarkovsky takes care to show that there is some value still, and his perspective isn't like just he's a lunatic and he has no idea what's going on. It is a perspective of how the world is and how you should act in the world, and there is some level of understanding that needs to happen there. I don't know where to go from there, but
Well, the two biggest quotes from the film that stick out to me that I remember are, "We need to think bigger,"
Which is from...
The Crazy Man.
Okay.
He just says we need to think bigger.
Is that when he's in the house?
Yeah.
Well, actually...
Yeah. We're in his house. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says we need to think bigger to Andre.
Yeah.
And then the other one is when they're by the pools, he says to the woman what he said to Saint Catherine. Like he being Jesus or God. I believe when I searched up, Jesus was talking to Saint Catherine. Not God, but they're the same thing. Whatever. Get the
The
point.
untranslatable-ness
And
of art.
well, and yeah, that as well. But Jesus said to Saint Catherine, and I'm sure you guys both searched this up.
No, I didn't.
Love of me and of neighbor is one and the same.
Yeah, okay. I think I've heard that actually before.
And so that is...
Which is really important because do you remember when he's doing the 2 drops of, I think it's oil, and he says 2 drops makes 1, and then up on the wall they have the 1 plus 1.
Well, it says, yeah,
This whole thing
it
is about
says
a unity.
2 drops just makes a bigger 1.
Yeah, sorry, 1 bigger drop.
And if we need to think bigger, and love of God is love of...
It's all one. We're all one.
Yeah. There's a unity, harmony. Tarkovsky's like...
He's a
base message
you ready
is
for this?
It's
peace.
like John Lennon, bro.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Imagine.
Spinoza.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
I'm not going to get into it.
Oh.
There's no need. It doesn't...
The
it's not...
FAPS goes abroad vlog will be coming, and the Spinoza the Spinoza
Vlog. We
vlog,
should do a podcast. Let's just vlog.
the Spinoza fucking vlog will be coming.
We'll literally...
And it will be.
Go,
It'll consist of me being like, "The fuck is this?"
we're going to go in there and we're just going to go, Spinoza, and then leave. No. It would be interesting to know, because I don't really know what Tarkovsky's deep religious views are in metaphysical sense in so far as he, like, what does he believe exists? What
terms
is
of-
God and so on. But
That's why you guys need to see Andrei Rublev.
because this is like, to say
cinema.
everything is one, everything is God or something, I think was quite controversial, at least when Spinoza was the one saying it.
And when was Spinoza?
That's a good question. I don't actually know.
Does all this reading of this guy,
Fake
doesn't know when he was
fan, bro.
around.
What
I'm
a
gonna
loser!
guess. I'm gonna throw a number.
30s?
I'm gonna guess like 1600s, 1700s.
Oh.
maybe. I'm gonna I don't know, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
1630s.
Died in the born in 1630.
Fuck.
1632. So.
Alright. Somewhere around there.
You're a fake fan, bro.
Well, I'm not that big a Spinoza guy. I know a little bit of Spinoza.
We're going to his fucking house.
'Cause it's fucking dope, bro. You wouldn't go to Spinoza's house if
Dude,
you
I
knew
thought
he
this guy
existed?
was like born in the 1900s.
Yeah, do
No.
something.
I should probably have told you that he's
Yeah.
on old.
Well, that makes
Anyway,
it cooler
back to
going to his
Tarkovsky.
house because it's a 400-year-old house
That's
now.
why it's cool. It's
Well, I
not
didn't
like
know that.
if it, yeah. Anyway, back to Tarkovsky. I'm not quite sure how his faith plays in this movie. What he actually thinks is correct. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting that there's this notion of this like being unity and so on.
Harmony, sort of one.
But the funny part is that ultimately the guy at the end is like alone. He burns and everyone's staring at him as if he's this separate like
Thing. Yeah.
Would you, as we've been discussing that it's got a lot of autobiographical elements, and obviously the main character is called Andre. What I'm really interested in is obviously he takes up the task of doing the candle and walking it across the empty pool and dies at the end.
yeah.
He does it and then gets to the end, and because they mentioned he had a heart problem and he's stressing balls over this stupid fucking candle, and then gets to the end and dies.
Well, like-
what do you think of that?
Well, obviously the candle is like a metaphor of someone's got to be the one to light the journey, lead it, to take the first step to get the message across, right? Someone's got to be the person that holds the flame, leads the.
But I'm interested because obviously I believe that character to be a implant for
Of Tarkovsky.
Yeah.
and he's saying he's gonna fucking die. Is that what he's thinking that he's doing?
Well, yeah, this is.
How did
It's
he
interesting
die?
because he was classified as a bro. Actually, hold on, I got to talk about this.
Was he classified as a
There was
martyr?
yeah, some people called him that. What's really
Fair
interesting
enough.
is that there's this whole conspiracy theory that he was actually assassinated by the KGB because they believed that the way his cancer developed couldn't have developed naturally,
So he got lung cancer.
and that his there were a few things that happened towards the end of his life that were shady as fuck, like surrounding him, and they believe that it was because there is a fact that the KGB were tasked to kill him, That is a fact. Because that was leaked in documents after he died.
Well, it says that it's from filming Stalker, so the locations.
Yeah, I
and-
know, but
And
that is most likely probably.
But the
what
Russians
it is.
do like their poison as a. Well, I guess cancer would be a bit different, but they like to do that kind of.
I'm not claiming that's a fact.
As
I'm just saying it's a very interesting.
As the Game of Thrones people would
conspiracy theory.
say, poison is a woman's weapon.
I tend to
Mother Russia.
I tend to believe that he did die of
Natural causes.
because so did his wife and the lead actor all died of lung cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were all on set at Stalker as what?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it all happened around the same time.
In any case, I think it's reasonably clear that this character is a self-insert. And so I think we have to ask the question, why did the shot's obviously long, and it's obviously asking you to think about something to do with time. What is it asking us to think about time? What is it asking us to think about what's happening in the context of the movie? And what is it telling us to think about Tarkovsky?
Well, obviously, you could take the candle as sort of it's almost a metaphor for life. You as a person are perhaps a teeny tiny little candle that could be snuffed out instantly. And just to get from one end to the other, from A to B, is a struggle. And you keep getting setbacks, and you can get all the way, and he dies just to get that tiny candle, that little seemingly insignificant object, just to be there.
To get to the finish line.
Get to the finish line.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it is just more of someone's got to be the one to lead the message, and whether if Andre's a self-insert in this, which, come on, he's named himself the main character, that look how long it's taken him and how many struggles and setbacks it's had to deliver his message, and now he's finally getting there, and then now he's been kicked out of his country essentially, and
maybe
all these things.
Maybe that would play quite an interesting thing, because there's a very important part in faith being persistent and overcoming your what is it called, like when you struggle with your faith? What's the term?
Well, Nick would probably know better.
You know the idea though, where it's like you question your faith.
Well, so crisis of faith.
Yeah, crisis of faith, exactly. And you have to continue with it anyway, and keep the flame lit. And make the journey.
What I'm thinking is that I tend to think also, because of the amount of airtime, especially considering he's more or less the main part of the ending that the other guy gets. What's his name again? The other dude sets himself on fire.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I actually
Doesn't matter.
I'm terrible with names.
Him.
I actually just had a great idea.
What I think is interesting.
Can you
is
let
that
him have his great idea?
No, you can. I'll remember.
Okay,
it.
cool,
It's
cool,
that
cool.
good.
All right, good.
He is sprouting all this stuff. He's this big messenger trying to get a message out, and then decides to die and kill himself. And then you see this guy, Andre, just taking this candle and doing this simple action. And perhaps what I'm thinking is perhaps both of those are conflicting ideologies in Tarkovsky's head, where he's kind of like, I'm just a man, I want to live my life, but also I have this big platform, I'm a well-regarded director, I want to talk about stuff. Obviously he's very upset about kind of his situation at the time. And I think ultimately perhaps the argument or the conclusion that he's making for himself is that he's spoken all he needs to say at this point. He made his films in Russia, and now he's in Italy doing whatever. And he's letting that part of himself go, and that's what that setting on fire was that guy. And then you follow Andre just doing the simple action of carrying the candle. And it's like perhaps that Andre there in the pool is the Andre from Nostalgia onwards. He's now out of Russia, and he's just trying to get to the finish line and do something.
And get the final message across.
Because what I think is interesting is Nostalgia and The Sacrifice are two very insular films. You don't... There's not as much happening in them on paper. It's mostly just characters talking, and there's not really a plot. Like, obviously, Solaris, there's a mystery there and stuff, and Stalker, they're trying to go somewhere. And all of them are like science fiction.
Yeah.
But these last two, and also the last two are the only ones dedicated to people. To his mum and to his son.
None to his father?
No.
Mirror has heavy fatherly influence, but it's not dedicated.
In terms of an actual dedication,
Yeah.
no. So I think that's really crucial, actually, if you're just looking at his career.
And well, obviously you've got the shot in the cabinet of Andre looking in, and then
Yes.
Dominico's the other guy's name,
Exactly.
of Dominico looking
Yes,
back out.
exactly.
So they're the same person, and if 1 and 1 makes a bigger 1, and so he's got the Russian Tarkovsky,
Brilliant.
and
Didn't
then
even think of that.
the Tarkovsky after, sets the separation
Yes.
and alienation, and then now
I don't
Isaac's
know-
got a point.
I'm not so sure this idea is as good as I thought it was, but we'll find
my
out.
idea was so fucking awesome.
Well, maybe it comes together now, but we'll see. I was
one
gonna
and
say
one
that
and
the
one makes a
flame-
bigger one.
The flame represents faith,
Yeah.
and you see they're doing two different things to the two different characters.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, they both die, but to one of them, it burns them up because its faith is almost too passionate
Mm-hmm.
and too powerful, and to the other one, it keeps going out. It needs to keep lighting it.
Yeah.
But they both die. They both die completely different ways. One is like, this big,
Blazing, like
blaze.
Joan of Arc.
And the other one is like this pathetic. He struggles along, and
Yeah.
so I don't know how that comes together. But I think the flame representing faith might be a pretty reasonable thing.
We could stitch that together with what I was saying.
Yeah.
And I think that would imply it would just be another layer to this. Is that obviously you could look at those two and think that they're Tarkovsky, and then you could look at them and think Tarkovsky's thoughts on faith or his faith. His crisis of faith represented through the flames on those characters, which are both elements of his subconscious.
I was going to say, if we apply a Jungian psychoanalytic reading, it's actually just his shadow self and...
Yes,
nah,
the shadow self.
I don't know. We don't really...
I know a lot about that.
But I think this idea of it being different representations of his journey with his faith or something.
And beyond just his journey with his faith, but his journey in general.
Yeah.
And so one is where he's going, and the other is where he's been. Oh,
the
phew.
hell?
So yeah, so one is the Italian Tarkovsky on his way to the end.
Yeah.
Whereas and then so Italian Tarkovsky is dying in one way or another. How old was he? Was he 60?
Wait,
50,
so you're
70?
saying Italian Tarkovsky is which one?
Andre?
Okay, and you're saying he's the religious fanatic?
No.
No, he's the guy with the candle in the pool.
That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
because
And then the fanatic is the Russian Tarkovsky.
That's what I was saying.
I would have had it the other way around.
Really?
No way, bro. No way. How?
Because Nick was saying though that he's had all his delusions, like not delusions, but like his crazy thought in his films made in Russia, and then now he's sort of like lost in this alienated away from home.
Like
They
thing.
seem to me both alienated though, but it's a different form of alienation.
disregard Mirror, because Mirror obviously was just him recounting stuff about his childhood, but it was done in a very, very hyper artistic way. But all the other films are either religious films or science fiction films, and
They're all human films.
all big, real crazy stuff. But the Nostalgia and Sacrifice are very, very personal character studies. They're just trying to understand these two dudes who are more or less.
Did you know Solaris is an antithesis to 2001?
Actually,
What a great picture Solaris is.
okay. I think it's important that we do try and interpret it as a whole as well. So we've got those
Because one
sort
and
of-
one makes a bigger one.
We've connected
True
those
words have
ideas.
never been
We've
spoken.
connected those parts, right?
Uh-huh.
Now I think we need to do the
to
hard work of connecting the more peripheral stuff.
we need
because
to
I think
incorporate Eugenia,
that's the
the
Italian woman?
girl,
Yep.
the Italian woman, and then the mother or the wife.
The memories of Russia.
I think it's Dude, that scene with the angel at the house is the best
mega
scene. One of
dope.
the best scenes I've ever seen in a film in
Yes.
terms of its haunting beauty.
Yes, I remember fucking
Because-
sitting there and Marlon was like, fuck.
I did do that because you've got these three women, and then out of the door comes an angel, and it's not facing or anything, but like
Had that very creepy music as well. It was
yeah,
like,
yeah, very, very, very like subtle. The thing is, for the first half of this film, there's no music, there's no score. It's just the sounds of the world.
Is that true?
Yeah, there is no actual
make sense,
music
actually.
for so long in this film.
If there isn't any music, it's not noticeable.
Well, because there's a lot of the Foley is very noticeable in this film. A lot of the steps you can tell it's
Other
Foley.
than the opening titles.
Yeah, rather than the opening titles, but that's a freeze frame.
Yeah.
But it was so haunting with the angel coming out behind, and then the three mothers right after you've seen, or the three women right after you've seen the Madonna in that sort of temple.
Yeah.
And as I said, it would be so fascinating to look at it just from a purely motherly or female relationship perspective of mother and wife and daughter and all these things, because I'm not being able to formulate as well as I can,
Well,
but you look like you are.
You just made me remember, what's her name?
Eugenia.
Genius.
Italian woman.
Yeah.
She does say at the start of the movie, like, she's talking about, like, well, why do these people do this? Like, why do they come here and
But doesn't she
pray?
say?
I could
why
never do this.
Why did she say? Why do women only have?
She
faith?
said why? No, she said why are women more likely to
Yes, that's
to
right.
pray and have faith? And then she also says that I could never do this. I could never get on my knees. And
She
so-
says, I find it interesting.
yeah.
Or I like the exploring
And
or
so,
something. But
what does she represent? If she's, is she?
I don't think she necessarily. She is more of a narrative device.
You think so?
is she
Perhaps,
not
but
some
the only-
sort of...
But the only thing, perhaps, is she could be an allegory for the allure of Italy.
That's what I was
and
about to
Andre
say.
Is like, nah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was about to say is, you know, this is the thing is within the present, but everything's still coming back to...
Yeah.
And she's an Italian woman, but can also speak Russian. She still understands what he's going through.
And it would make a lot of sense because she rejects him.
Yeah.
And I think he would feel that he's not, like, obviously he doesn't feel Italian, but
But he
would
doesn't feel
at
accepted.
home. And he would,
in-
yeah.
So I think she is just, the allegory of Italy.
And so what does her having that other man represent?
Well, any big Italian film directors in the 70s and 80s?
Well, that other guy, I mean, he's super relevant to the story because he's only in that one shot, but he's like completely ignoring her. I don't necessarily think that implies anything other than perhaps to give her more of a
Reason to be with Andre?
or a sympathy towards her. Perhaps that's just Andre being like, he doesn't really like Italy, but then it's like not Italy's fault or something, I guess.
And you got the German Shepherd throughout. Man's best friend.
Well,
Is that more than...
by
Is that
the way,
more
the
than...
dog
By the way,
switches
no,
between...
no, hold on.
It's the
This
same
is
dog
such
throughout.
This is such an aggressively pro-dog movie. There's so much
Yeah.
great dog appearances.
Just German Shepherd.
No, but there was that other one as well. There was that other dog. Remember it was the old
dog.
the other black and white one,
Oh, yeah.
and it was hanging out at the bath.
Yeah,
dog
I
was
do remember that. But there was a German Shepherd at the bath
Yes,
as well.
he was everywhere.
And the
then
German
it-
Shepherd comes
He was
to him in his-
Domenico's dog.
But it's also...
It comes to him in his sleep.
In his sleep.
Yeah.
I think
Well, it's there at the house.
It's there at the house. It's there at the bath.
The dog is the dog of both of them in like a...
Tarkovsky just misses
'cause they
his
are
dog,
one,
bro.
Dude, yeah.
He
That's
definitely
probably
just-
just
he
his childhood dog,
He just
right?
left his dog at
Who is
home.
the dog, bro?
I think the dog
The
is
dog
just
is
a
man's
dog.
best friend, bro.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Yeah, I
Tarkovsky
think...
just
Because when that
missing
guy
his
says,
parent.
"I don't like being alone," where are you, my boy? He's like, "Where are you? I don't like. You know what I like being
Nah,
alone."
he's just missing his pooch, bro.
The loyalty of the dog. Maybe it is literally just the dog is
I
the
think-
most goated animal, and he
I think
always,
that's just a fact.
Because
he'll
there's
always
dogs
be
in-
there within your time
Are
of
there,
struggle.
are there dogs not in Stalker at some point as well?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a dog that follows the
All
stalker.
right, but you know what
throughout
though?
the film.
The dog represents God, and how God is always by your side. Oh my God! Boom.
Thank you.
I say that as a joke, but it's kind of like it low
Could be.
Loki could work.
But,
Because it,
but
like-
you can do that with anything. The clothes of God.
But you wouldn't want to say that God is equivalent to a dog, because nobody puts dog above them.
No. There'd be some very angry Christians who'd
Yeah,
come on
I
our
think
fucking
Tarkovsky
comment
might.
section and be like, fuck.
I wish we had some angry Christians coming to our...
That actually would be
But
really
it's like,
good.
you know, the classic.
Any publicist
You know that
is publicist.
classic. I think
Yeah.
we've all heard this. What do you call them? Like a parable, I guess. I don't know. Story that you hear a million times, where like there was 4 footprints on the beach sand.
Yeah, that's a parable, bro.
And then Jesus like is by your side, and then all of a sudden there's only one set of footprints, and he's like, "Yo, Jesus, why'd you leave me when I needed
how
you the
about-
most?" And he's
bro,
like, "Nah, dude, I was carrying you on
How
my
about
back."
how about I drop some Chris Ledbetter wisdom on you? There's a boy walking along the beach and there's all the starfish and there's a million of them and he throws one back in the water and dad's just like, "What are you doing, bro? You're not going to throw them all in the water." And he goes, "Nah, but I changed that one's life. Made a difference in that one's life." Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. All right. I think the other thing we haven't even said about is the title is Nostalgia. Does that give us the answers?
Well,
Yeah.
we've already discussed the nostalgia
Obvious-
for the
yeah.
homeland and his separation from
What does
it.
Don Draper say, Nicholas?
Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent.
So Marlon,
Let's speed run.
what do you got to say, bro? Spill the tea.
Well, so I was talking to Nick in the car on the way home from Nostalgia, and I said, look, I have a lot more positive to say than negative. But at the time, I wasn't too much of a fan of the ending with the man on the horse in the square.
Yep.
I felt that was too much, not necessarily the burning at the end, but the preaching. I felt that was too much of Tarkovsky telling us his views and his perspectives rather than letting us explore it and figure it out ourselves through the films.
Do you remember what he said?
I do not, but I just remember being fanatic raving and things that I had...
He said too much. Don't
But
try
do you
and
think
of it.
it's Tarkovsky's views?
Well, I think it's a lot of his beliefs.
Okay.
But I think...
But that's why I think...
Because my reading
but I think he can get away with that because then the man proceeds to set himself on fire. So it completely undercuts
my
everything
reading
that
of
he said.
my reading of the film is that that's like, if that's him, it's a side of him that he thinks isn't quite how he should be.
Right.
Like maybe it is quite a Jungian idea, and he thinks that he needs to integrate both sides of his faith and his way of living into one and have this sort of in between. Maybe.
Yeah. But I certainly
don't know.
think that some of what that man is saying at the end, at least in the preaching, is just Tarkovsky telling the audience, this is what I think.
Okay.
Like,
That's fair.
I would believe this and this will come. And
That's fair, yeah.
And it's not direct, like, religious preaching, but I feel like he's just on the nose giving you some of his thoughts if you haven't picked them up throughout the film anyway. The problem is in every other film, I feel like you pick it up yourselves, you explore it yourselves, you go through that journey yourselves, you battle through it, and then at the end, it's just an end.
Or
with no
usually
real-
at least there's some conflict. Like at the end of Stalker, they all stand there and they sprout their own ideologies on what they should do with the zone. But of course, they're fighting each other whilst that's happening. And so you do get different opinions and more or less sort of just straight exposition. They're just telling you how they feel. But you've got that character conflict going on there, which wasn't in Nostalgia. It was just him talking, and there was no like.
And I wasn't
alternative.
the biggest fan of the ending, but with the discussion of the fact that it is two sides to him, you take Andre and Domenico, it makes it much less of a problem. And more so just like, oh fucking sick, this guy's burning himself alive, he's killing himself in this sort of ritualistic martyr sort of way, and it is less it detracts from
It's
the
less
film.
didactic and more of just like an actual narrative.
It detracts less from the film than I originally thought it did. It makes me like the film a lot more, thinking that is a less weighty sort of issue I have with it now.
On that note, do you want to keep going or do you want to...
I've got nothing else to say. I loved it. Beautifully shot.
I think we should end it with this note, is there is more in there. There is more for you to find. You will probably get a different interpretation. I don't think we've figured it out, actually.
No.
I think we've come up with a pretty good hypothesis that needs to be developed for a good, really good interpretation.
And knowing us, probably next time it's screened, we'll go see it again.
Yeah.
Well,
But I will
yeah.
say this, if you found this interesting, you should definitely go watch it. Watch Tarkovsky.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it.
Start with Stalker.
Yeah. If you hate him, you'll love him eventually. So
I mean, it's I actually just want to say that you're making that point, which I think is this, and I reckon Solaris are probably the two most up in the air, sort of most up for interpretation. I think this one doesn't seem like it initially, but I think it definitely is.
Stalker and Mirror comparatively are quite straightforward.
Yeah, well,
They're still fucking...
Your Stalker's got a lot of stuff going on there, but it is more or less a journey, and Mirror is just a collection of memories, but just with no hand-holding. Whereas, Nostalgia and I think Solaris, I found Solaris very, like, challenging in that way because it was so complex, and I thought there was so many different things going on there. I think these are the two where I think repeated viewings endlessly could still come up with different stuff. So very cool.
Shall we give ratings?
Yeah, you can go first, Marlon.
9 out of 10.
You can go second, Bowie.
9 out of 10.
We got 3 9s. Thanks.
Wait, bad news, guys. Flip that upside down.
666.
Is that a coincidence? I don't think so.
Oh my god.
Satanist movie. He actually hates God.
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
Anyway.
I actually thought Barry was just changing it to a 6 initially, and then I realized, he's actually making like a Satanist joke. But I would have been more disturbed if he was just giving
FAPS.
it a 6.
Yeah.
Is a satanic cult.
Oh my goodness.
Did you guys know that?
They knew that.
T-bro.
They wouldn't.
So after the genius that is Tarkovsky, tune in next time for us to talk about Deadpool.
And Long Legs and...
Who's the director of Long Legs?
something, and Fritz Lang's
motherfucker.
Metropolis,
which was
I've
actually
picked for last month.
which was actually pretty good.
Banging film, I must say.
It's pretty swag.
Yep.
Thank you very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed us go undercover for FAPS Incognito 2 in a basement. See you
Hopefully
next
we'll be
time.
back.
Basement.
Hopefully we'll be back, and knowing us will probably just be the next Tarkovsky.
Alright, you know they got like,
Yeah.
you know they got like the bat.
Probably Andrei Rublev.
Thank you.
You know how they got the wait, sorry, I know we're done, but you know how they got the Bat Cave?
Uh-huh. Is this the Fab Cave?
Fat cave.
This is the Fat Cave, bro. All right, we're done. We out.
Sick.
Thanks,
See ya.
guys.